In 1868, in the mountains of Toba Fushimi in Kyoto, the Susura army, which supported the new government, fought a fierce battle against the Shogunate army. The Shogunate army, which was at a disadvantage, managed to get the support of the Shinsengumi group led by Sato I. Unexpectedly, the so-called Bato Sai, Haimura Kenshin, appeared to suppress the situation. And when Sato was about to fight with him, the Susura army brought the emperor's imperial flag to publicly declare that the Shogunate army was a rebel. Kenshin knows that the new era he has dreamed of has come and is about to leave the battlefield when a disgruntled Sato screams at him that it is not over. But Kenshin just sticks his sword in the ground and turns away. After the battle subsided, the surviving Shogunate assassin, Udo Uhatsuo, rose from the pile of corpses and drew the sword Kenshin had abandoned. 10 years later, in Tokyo, the black-hearted industrialist Takeda Kinryu employs many unemployed samurai and ronin, and coerces a female physician, Takahoi, to produce a new opium called spider web, which he intends to use to make money and buy weapons to dominate the region. He also had his men kill other doctors who knew about the formula, one of whom was an undercover agent of the police, and he was killed by a blade guard posing as Kamiya Koyushin Kenryu Bato Sai when he was escaping from the Kenryu mansion. The real Bato Sai, who has now taken a vow not to kill, coincidentally arrives in Tokyo, and while looking at Bato Sai's wanted posters on the bulletin boards, Kamiya Aryu, the acting master of Kamiya Koyushin Kenryu, thinks that he is a murderer, and slashes him with a wooden sword. But Kenshin rushes to take out his own sword, the reverse-edged sword, which is impossible to kill someone with the blade facing inward and the back of the knife facing outward. Aryu apologizes, but is determined to find the murderer who defamed his family's dojo. Sato goes to Kenryu's mansion to investigate, and although he feels that Kenryu is involved in the murder, Sato has no evidence to arrest Kenryu. When Kenryu realizes that Megumi has escaped, he orders his assassin, Blade Guard, to go after her. It doesn't take long for him to find the police station where Kei is hiding, and his hypnotic technique mindside kills and maims the police officers, forcing Kei to jump out of the window and escape. Aryu is on her way to the police station when she encounters Hedgehog, who she knows to be the real killer, but she immediately attacks him. But she is no match for him. Kenshin arrives in time to save the day, and they escape together when Hedgehog is discovered by the police. Kenshin follows Aryu to the dojo, where he learns that Kamiya Koyushin Kenryu promotes the Sword of the Living, which is a method of not killing, but the sect has been left unsuccessful after his father's death, and there is only one student left, a Kagami Yahiko. The next morning, a group of hoodlums come to the dojo and demand that Aryu vacate the dojo on the grounds that Kenshin Kamiya has committed murder. As Aryu is about to fight, Kenshin enters the dojo, sensing the commotion, and gives them a good beating without drawing his sword. But the police arrive later and arrest him along with the hooligans for violating the abolition of the sword. When Sato hears of Kenshin's arrest, he immediately takes him out of jail and brings him to a meeting with Army General Yamagata. Yamagata explains the case of the drug spider web to Kenshin and expresses his interest in inviting him to join the army. But Sato is displeased to learn that Kenshin has given up his identity as an assassin from his reversed blade sword, and he pulls out his sword to attack him on the spot, accusing him of not protecting people with such a sword. Yamagata stops the two from fighting and lets Kenshin go. Kaoryu, who is grateful to him, takes Kenshin back to his home and lends him his father's red coat to replace it. Kei escapes from the police station and is taken in by Yahiko. The four of them meet and go to a hot pot restaurant to eat together. But they bump into Kinryu and Megumi rushes to hide in the restroom. When Kinryu hears about Kenshin's exploits and wants to hire him, Kenshin refuses. But Zanosuke Sagare, a former member of the Red newspaper team who saw Kenshin in prison, introduces himself to Kinryu and challenges him to a fight with a Zanpakuto in order to prove his strength. But Kenshin simply tells him that it's not worth it to fight for Kinryu, and the group parted ways. The night is also a time for Hedgehog to kill all the ruffians who have been trashing the Kamiya dojo, an incident that makes Sato's prejudice against Kenshin even more profound. Kenshin is reminded of his past assassinations of Shogunate officials when he sees the weeping families of the dead. But after one of his missions, he witnesses the new wife of the murdered samurai grieving over her husband's body, making him wonder if he did the right thing. And the cross scar left by the samurai's wife is a reminder of the darkness of his past. Soon after, Kei is warned by a foreign seal, and a large number of sick neighbors arrive at the dojo. It turns out that the well water has been poisoned by Kinryu men, and since the nearby doctor has disappeared, Kei has to direct everyone to detoxify the water. But she reveals her identity as a result. Afterwards, Kei confesses to Kenshin that the Takaho family was originally a medical family, but all the male members of the family were recruited by the army and died in the battlefield. In order to survive, she had to become Kinryu concubine. But her own medical skills were used to make opium to harm the people, and she could not bear the condemnation of her conscience and decided to run away. That night, Kei leaves a letter at the dojo, intending to sacrifice herself and assassinate Kinryu to save her friend, but is unsuccessful. Kenshin and Zanosuke, whose friend has been poisoned, see the letter and decide to go to Kinryu. The two of them go to the mansion and fight against a large number of Ronin, and Kinryu gives a large sum of money to encourage his men, but they are still no match for Kenshin's superior sword skills and Zanosuke's strange strength. Inside and outside the mansion, the gods of Yin and Hokusai fight against Kenshin and Zanosuke, and lose one after another. Kinryu has to take out the Gatling machine gun he purchased to force the two men back. But then Sato receives a message from Yahiko and the three of them take advantage of the machine, the weakness of being able to deal with both sides at the same time, and subdue him with a sneak attack by faking a drop. However, when they find Kei, they hear that Blade Guard has already found out about Kenshin's relationship with Kaoryu, and has gone to the dojo to kidnap Kaoryu to a broken temple, using this as a way to threaten Kenshin into a duel with himself. Kenshin rushes to the scene, but Kenshin's superior swordsmanship coupled with his own vow not to kill him puts him at a disadvantage, and in a short time he is hit by many knives. Knowing that Kenshin has not yet reverted to Battle Sai, Kenshin casts a strong heart sight on Kaoryu, which paralyzes her lungs and prevents her from breathing. And realizing that there is no other choice but to kill the wielder of the spell, Kenshin discards his vow and uses the Twin Dragon's Blitz to shatter Kenshin's right wrist with his Battle Sai technique, and reverses his blade to kill him. However, Kaoryu stops Kenshin just in time by disarming the party of the heart on her own. Humiliated, Hajime cuts his stomach with his sword, taunting himself that he will be in hell to see how long Kenshin can pretend to be a hypocrite, and then collapses. Sato, who came with the police to settle the matter, sees Kenshin leaving with Kao Ryu in his arms, and reiterates the declaration he made at Toba Fushimi.